So what if I told you that the internet you use every single day, Google, social media, all your online shopping, is just the tiny visible tip of a massive digital iceberg? Well, today we're diving way below the surface to explore the hidden layers of the internet. Let's get right into it. The best way to really wrap your head around the internet is to picture this iceberg. Everything we see, everything we use, all those social media feeds, news sites, all of our search results, that's just the part sticking out of the water. But lurking just beneath the surface is this huge, invisible majority of the digital world. So, let's start our journey on some familiar ground, right? The part of the internet we all know and navigate every day. This is what we call the surface web. This is your digital comfort zone. Seriously, every Google search you make, every news article you read, every online purchase, it all happens right here on the surface web. You can think of it like the public-facing storefront of the internet. It's designed on purpose to be found and cataloged by search engines.
All right, now it's time to take our first big step below the waterline. We're about to dive into the massive, unseen part of the internet that makes up the bulk of that iceberg. This is the deep web.
When people hear the phrase deep web, their minds often jump straight to shady, hidden, illegal stuff. But that is a huge misconception. The deep web is simply all the content that isn't indexed by search engines. You're not just going to stumble upon it with a Google search. You need a direct link or, more often, a specific login to get there. And here's the kicker. You probably use the deep web every single day without even realizing it. Are you checking your email? Yep, that's the deep web. Logging into your online bank account? That's the deep web too. Accessing your medical records, streaming a movie on a subscription service, or using a private company portal for work? All of that, it's all part of the deep web. And this really gets to the core of why the deep web even exists. It is all about security and privacy. You wouldn't want your private bank statements or your emails just showing up in a public search, right? Of course not. Its main job is to act like a digital vault, keeping all that sensitive information protected behind a login or a paywall.
Okay, so let's dive even deeper now. Tucked away inside that massive deep web is a very small, very specific section that's built for something else entirely: total anonymity. This is the dark web. The dark web is this tiny little corner of the deep web, and it's built for one main reason: to hide a user's identity and their location. You can't just get there with a regular browser like Chrome or Safari. You need special software to access sites with these unique .onion addresses.
Now, the key that unlocks the dark web is a tool called Tor, which stands for the Onion Router. And here's a pretty fascinating little fact for you. Tor was originally developed by the U.S. Navy, as a way to protect sensitive government communications online, long before it was ever made available to the public. It's called the Onion Router because of how it works. Your internet traffic gets wrapped up in multiple layers of encryption, just like the layers of an onion. Then it's bounced through this random series of servers all around the world. Each server only peels back one single layer of encryption to know where to send it next. This means no single point in that whole chain knows both who you are and what you're looking at. It makes tracing your activity back to you incredibly difficult.
So this brings us to the really fascinating dual nature of the dark web, because that same powerful anonymity that can shield criminals also serves as an absolutely essential tool for good. It allows journalists, activists, and citizens who are living under oppressive regimes to communicate and share information safely without the fear of being tracked or silenced.
So, after that deep dive, let's zoom back out for a second and look at our iceberg one last time. It's really important to understand why making these distinctions between the layers matters so much.
And this is where the true scale of it all just becomes crystal clear. The surface web, the internet we all know and use, is only about 5% of the total. The protected deep web, that makes up the other 95%. And the dark web, it is a tiny, almost immeasurable fraction of all of that, less than 0.1%.
So the crucial thing to take away from all this is that these layers aren't just random. They exist to manage access for very different purposes. You've got the surface web for public info, the deep web for protected data, and the dark web for anonymous communication. Understanding this structure helps us see the internet not as just one single thing, but as this complex digital world with different rules, different purposes, and different tools.
And all of this leaves us with a pretty critical question. As our lives move more and more online, the demand for privacy is only growing, and the tools that create these hidden layers are becoming more and more vital. But they also pose some pretty big challenges. So the question for all of us is, how do we navigate the incredible promise of privacy against the very real peril of a world that can't always be seen?